This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live from the Margaritaville Terrace on Fort Myers Beach, 100 feet from the Gulf of America. Here are your award-winning social media superstars, the hosts of Beach Talk Radio, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Yeah, big round of applause for Kim for coming. Dave Nusbaum is here with us today, ladies and gentlemen, and we appreciate Dave coming in. And the reason Dave is here is, once again, cannot tear the wife away from the newborn grandchild. So she is hanging out with Jillian and Warren and the baby.
Well, let me be one of the belated best wishers of the grandparents, Kim and Ed, for Hudson and his wonderful arrival.
Yes, very much. We're very much happy to have a grandchild and looking forward to going to see the baby after the show today. So it's been one hell of a week, Dave. Turned 60. We had a grandchild, and the Giants somehow beat the Philadelphia Eagles, which I thought was somebody was playing a practical joke on me the day I woke up and that had happened.
Well, and the fact that you turned 60, and I'm very sorry we missed the party.
Yes.
We did send our best wishes down to you as from Wisconsin.
There was a video that played at the birthday party at La Ola where Dave and Julie were in Wisconsin dressed in some kind of cheese outfits, which you really went above and beyond. Ed's laughing because he saw the video. What was that all about? Did you guys have those outfits, or did you actually go out and buy them?
We actually had a Packer game that occurred on Halloween, and I made a cheesehead costume that I wore to the tailgate party.
Yeah.
Or tailgating at Lambeau Field, which went over very well. My wife was very happy that was the last appearance of the costume.
Oh, well, the one on the video? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Well, thank you for that. And the other thing I wanted to mention before we got rolling, I know you got some stuff, and then we're going to have Jim Dunlap come on and talk about some things, and you'll sit in if you're up for it. We're in the middle of a fundraiser for the VFW. I don't know if you haven't been watching our Facebook page, the VFW just off Fort Myers Beach. It's considered Fort Myers Beach's VFW. They've accumulated about $50,000 in bills that they need to have paid so they don't close. And we started a fundraiser, or we announced we were going to do a fundraiser. And then when I was leaving the beach, I don't know if it was last weekend or 2 weekends ago, somebody called me that lives on the beach and said that they were going to donate they were going to match up to $25,000 to get us closer to the $50,000. So that was just a call out of the blue of a random follower that lives on the beach who won't be anonymous on the day of the show that we're doing on October 19th. So that was a nice start to things. And then we put together this gigantic raffle package that's on our website that if you go on there, you can buy a raffle ticket for $50, or you can buy more than one for $50 each. All that money, 100% of that money, will go toward the match of the $25,000. And then I didn't mention this until right now that I got an email from somebody. Now, of course, when somebody calls you and says they're donating $25,000, you think first thing you think is it's a practical joke. Somebody's punking you, and because that's just a rare thing. So I get an email yesterday from somebody that said that she was sending me a check for $10,000, which will go toward the match. And we're up to over $3,000 on the fundraiser. So we're at $13,000 toward the $25,000 match. And we have until October the 19th. We're selling these raffle tickets right through October the 19th. So we're off to a pretty good start, Dave.
And I think so. And I would like to also add the fact, and little known fact, that I am a veteran from back when I got out of college and had to go into the Army Reserves. I was in the last draft call of the United States, had to go into the reserves or the regular Army. I elected to go into the reserves, spent 6 years on duty. I never got called to active duty. My unit, several years after I got out, had to go over to the Middle East on 3 activations, and a couple of them were over a year in length. So as a veteran, I have written a check out. Julie and I wrote a check out today for $250.
Sweet.
And I encourage every veteran that's listening to send something in for the VFW, because it's a great cause. They've been on the beach ever since I've been coming for 40 some years.
Yeah. I think they said, of course, I'm drawing a blank now, but I thought it was 48 years or something like that. Yeah.
And you know, I was a pimple compared to what these people did. And it's a great gathering place for them. And I encourage every veteran, pull out your wallet, pull out your checkbook, and donate.
Yeah, and you know, I've said it a million times on the show that I'll do anything for veterans. I think when they come back from serving, everything they should get for free. They should never have to worry about anything. And so it's almost, doing a fundraiser like this is almost a no-brainer. I mean, we're in a time now where everybody's raising money. Everybody's trying to do good things for 501c3s. They are a 501c3, by the way. So if you donate directly to their GoFundMe, it's tax deductible. Whatever we can do. And on the 19th of October, our mayor show will be held at the VFW. So Dan will be there. The town manager, Will, is a veteran, so he will be on the show with us. And we're just going to be interviewing veterans for 2 hours, including the mayor is going to co-host the show, and Kim will be at that show, of course. And we want everybody to come down. The VFW will be open. You can come down. You can spend time there. You can buy raffle tickets up until 11 o'clock. And then when the show ends at 12 o'clock, we're going to draw the winner, and we're also going to announce what the final total is for that amount. But the person that put up the first $25,000 is a resident of Fort Myers Beach. And he called up and he said that I've just been lucky enough. My wife and I have just been lucky enough in life that we want to do this. And he's not going to be able to be there. He's going to a Penn State football game, so he's not going to be able to be there on that day, or he would, to present the check. But he did say that we could tell everybody sorry, Terry, 58 years, not 48 years. He did say we could tell everybody who he is on that day, which is going to be great. So please come down on October 19th at the VFW just off Fort Myers Beach.
Super.
All right. So Dave Nusbaum is here. We got a few things to talk about. The first thing I wanted to ask you about was your condo. You are the condo president of Island Winds. And that is on the south end?
South end, 6610 Estero Boulevard.
And we got a walk around at your place a couple of weeks ago, and you guys are now open.
Yes, we are. And thank you for putting the video on the show. I can tell you there was a lady at the last town council meeting that said PTSD is real, and everyone that was here for the last 3 years experienced it. We were no exception, but we're done. Everything's back together. And we are very encouraged that we are now open. We've got all of the facilities, with the exception of the tennis courts across the street, that we're waiting for the final permits from the town, because we're also rebuilding seawalls. But we're encouraging everyone to come down. Those that have rented at Island Winds before, we're open. Please rent. We have an October special going on. This is my commercial. There's 20% off for anyone that rents in the month of October for anything going into, I think it's April of 2026. So this is your 15-day window to get some things. And we're just trying to bring people back to the island to support the businesses on the south end, because without people, the businesses can't flourish.
You guys are on the beach side. How far down?
We're probably 5 doors north of Santini Plaza.
Okay. And extensive damage. You went through hell with insurance. The building was.
We had $17.5 million of recoverable and non-recoverable damage. We assessed the owners to the tune of $55,000 each. It's public knowledge. So, and it was a battle to put everything back together. We survived contractors that went Chapter 11. We spent $650,000 on attorney fees and public adjusters trying to get our money from the carriers that didn't want to pay the money, both FEMA and the wind carrier. So it was a battle. I told the owners it was the toughest 3 years of my life. And I had some tough years.
Yeah.
But
what was your toughest year of your life besides the working that?
I would say when I had to drag my wife and daughter, I was working for a gentleman that he and I didn't see eye to eye.
Yeah.
So I left the company and dragged them from Waukesha, Wisconsin to Poland, Ohio, and took a job for another company.
Poland, Ohio. That sounds like a huge city, Dave.
Yeah, it's a suburb of Youngstown.
Yeah.
And I took another job for another cheese company. I was there for a year, and the president of the company called me up and said, "We fired your boss. Do you want to come back and take his job?"
Oh, that's very
So
nice.
then I had to explain to my wife and daughter, who just settled in and made friends at the school. She was in first grade.
Yeah.
And said, "Okay, we're moving back to Wisconsin." And she was like, she lost it.
Happy or not happy?
Well, not happy and then happy.
Yeah.
So
Does everybody that lives in Wisconsin work for a cheese company? Is that part of what you're required
well,
to
no,
do?
some work for a cheese company and then some work for the companies that sell the cheese.
Yeah. I
So
gotcha. So there's some kind of relationship.
It's a
to cheese.
relationship there. So, it's either you either make it or you
Yeah.
sell it, or you're in a grocery store,
I gotta say, when we've been to Dave's lovely cabin on Lake Loon
Loon Lake.
Does it matter which way you say it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, sorry. And there are like 7,500 lakes in Wisconsin or some crazy amount, right?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
So you're not too far from Lambeau Field. And I have to say that if you've never been to Lambeau Field, it's like an experience. It's not like just going to a stadium or something. It's like it's a crazy experience to see that. And it's got such history to it.
yeah, and we're 22 and a half miles from Mecca.
Yes,
That's-
which is Lambeau Field, right?
Yes.
And you guys are so involved, like it's super fans. Like it's almost 10 times worse than New York fans. Like you live for the Packers and the Badgers, and I don't know, is that it?
Well, it's a first of all, it's a cold climate, so we don't get to share this beautiful weather all the
Can
time.
I just say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I might as well make you feel like him. This could be the best day so far we've had. I mean, I almost had to go downstairs and get a long sleeve shirt. I know I'm a sissy, but it was I know chilly is relevant, is all relative, but it was a beautiful day.
So at any rate,
Rolls right off my interruption. Doesn't matter.
yeah.
He never loses his place.
There's nothing that Wisconsin fans like to do more than watch football, eat cheese, and occasionally have a cold beverage to help wash the cheese down. And that's pretty much the culture of the state.
So Eileen is watching and she says, Poland is my hometown. Who would have ever thought that somebody from Poland, what was the name of that? I don't remember the name of the state.
Ohio.
Poland, Ohio is watching. And Danny says he loves the Wisconsin stories. So you guys have just it's like a picturesque house on a nice lake. I mean, you couldn't ask for perfect life, Dave.
Well, and that's why everyone says, why don't you spend year round down here, which we would love to do. But we have the opportunity to spend the 5 days of summer up in Wisconsin. So you're never sure when the 5 days are going to show up. So you have to be there for about 3 months. But sprinkled in those 3 months are 5 perfect days of summer.
Having grown up in, grown up in upstate New York, and Kim went to school in Syracuse, and I've been to like Buffalo when there's lake effect snow. So I've experienced cold, and I never want to experience it again. But what you said about the lake is the lake gets the ice on your lake, which isn't a small lake, it's a big lake,
300 acres.
300 acres of a lake. The ice gets so thick on that lake that you can drive trucks on it.
Oh yeah, all the time.
That's bizarre. How cold that has to be for how long it has to be.
It is fun to bring out staters up for ice fishing, which is a winter sport, and drive the trucks on and the pickups and the SUVs on the ice and look at the white knuckles of the out-of-staters on the
That would be me, for sure.
On the handle of the door.
By the way, for those of you that have no idea what's going on, we do a show here every Saturday at 11 o'clock. We talk to folks that live on the island, work on the island, have politics on the island, and then Sundays at 10 o'clock at Wahoo Willie's with usually the mayor, sometimes the vice mayor, sometimes the town manager. But you can follow us on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. That I post on Instagram once a year. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, you won't see much, but it's mostly Facebook. And Dave, you're also the chairperson now for the second year of second term of I don't know why the council voted you back in, but they
don't either.
Oh, because nobody else was up. That's why. For the Marine Environmental Resources Task Force.
Yes.
And so how are things going with the committee?
Well, we just had our first meeting of the year after the appointments from the town council. And again, thank you, town council, for reappointing me back on the committee. And we had a very good year. I was fortunate to be elected as chair of the committee again. And I think we're doing a lot of really good things. One of the primary purposes of our committee, or responsibilities, I should say, is to solicit and recommend candidates for the Mulholland Award. And we had 2 very good candidates that were brought in. And after looking at the candidates, and given the fact that we had no awards given last year, we determined that both of them should get it, one from last year and one from this year.
It's kind of like the kids. Everyone gets a trophy.
Everybody gets a trophy. So, and it's online. We are acknowledging, and I'm going to kill their names, Bill Bronsword and Mitch Fusek is being from Tuna Skin, the founders.
Oh, very nice.
Is being recommended to achieve the Mulholland Award, and also Mary Rose Spoletta for her years and years of service, both to the MRF committee and to Turtle Time and to other environmental areas. And we felt it was probably a good thing to award both, given the fact that nothing was done last year or even the year before, and because we wanted to reinstate it, we wanted to claw back and get it, and Mary Rose was on last year and then resigned from the committee, but that doesn't take away her years of service that she paid to the town and the other committees.
All right.
And just to recap, the Mulholland Award is for the outstanding stewardship of the island and the environment on our island, and it's named after our first mayor.
All right. And you had another award, lastly, about the committee. This past meeting, you nominated somebody for the MRF Award, right?
Yes.
Who was the nomination?
Well, we had the 2 ladies, and I don't have their name written down because that's a trick question.
FWC.
Yeah, from FWC, and they were instrumental in having a successful shorebird nesting season.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, for those of you that aren't aware, Fort Myers Beach is unique in the state of Florida, and I think probably the United States. We have 4 of the most endangered shorebird species that nest on the south end of the island annually. And every time we can have a successful season, it adds to the population of the endangered shorebirds. And those 2 people went above and beyond their responsibilities trying to catch iguanas, which are fatal to the nesting area.
Did I hear one of your committee members saying they shot iguanas?
Yes.
you're allowed to shoot iguanas on the island?
Yes, you are.
I see. What kind of?
I don't know if you're allowed to shoot them on. I don't know if you're allowed to shoot them on the island, but iguanas are not a protected species.
No, I know, but I wonder. You just whip out like a 45 and you just start
I think
shooting
a BB gun or a pellet gun.
Oh, I got you. Do you need a permit to shoot an iguana with a weapon?
And to my knowledge, no.
You don't need a permit for that. So the other thing is, what are you guys doing about the torpedo birds? Like on occasion, I will walk down the beach and do a walk around, and the birds, they're like attack birds or something. Now, am I allowed to fight back against those birds when they attack me?
Ask me no questions. I'll tell you no lies.
Come on, Murph guy. You're the chairman of the Murph committee. I was waiting. What about the sand spurs? I mean, the sand spurs are just all over the place.
Sand spurs, we had a very successful hatching season at the critical wildlife area because we did treat for sand spurs in the CWA with an herbicide, which dropped the amount of sand spurs. Sand spurs are deadly for the young chicks as they hatch. It gets in their down and gets infected and they die. And so we had a very successful season for the one of the reasons is due to the application of an FWC approved herbicide that killed the sand spurs, and we're trying to see if we can expand that.
Okay. So you're working on the sand spurs.
Yes.
All right. So you're working on the sand spurs, you're working on the iguanas. Just go out and shoot the iguanas with your BB gun anywhere you'd like on the island. Did you see? You're allowed to do that with a BB gun. You just need a BB gun. Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like the way they look. I think they add character to the island. Those big giant iguanas.
Just remember Christmas Carol. A BB gun can put your eye out.
I didn't see that movie.
It's a classic.
Yeah, is that the one where the kid licks the pole and his tongue?
Yeah, absolutely same one.
That's the only thing I remember about that movie. So. One time I don't know what I was doing. I was at Barbara Hill's house. We were having, I don't know, she was serving tea or something or whatever it was. And this was before the storm. And I think she had one of those, what are those special trees called down here? What are those big giant trees what is it? It's the Fort Myers Beach tree. Come on, you guys, you live down here.
Australian pine?
No, not that one. The coconut, I can't believe you guys don't know what tree I'm talking about. What's the name of the tree? The Fort Myers Beach tree.
Palm?
No.
Royal palm?
What's he say? No, not a banyan tree. It's the big giant tree with all the arms. No. Mangrove? Somebody will know what it is. So anyway, she had one of those trees in the backyard, and one of those, there was like gigantic iguanas running around in her backyard. But she didn't break out. Barbara Hill didn't break out a BB gun and start shooting all the iguanas in her backyard. So.
Well, the other thing you can do is encourage hawks to return to the island because they're the natural predator for iguanas. Yes, red-tailed hawks are a natural predator for iguanas.
For somebody from Wisconsin, you sure know a lot more about these species than I thought. Is that from reading about it or just a natural?
I'm reading about it and following up.
I see.
Couple other things I want to mention since we're on the Murph committee.
Can you make it quick?
I'll make it real quick
because I'm really getting bored.
February 4th.
Just kidding.
Is going to be the hazardous waste pickup on the island, and we're going to have it available at Bay Oaks for all the paint and anything else, and that's a great way for every resident on the beach to get rid of their extra paint cans. Leftover paint, leftover primers, and it's free. All you have to do is show up. We're going to give more information on it.
Did you say February 4th?
February 4th of 2026.
They can't do one before that?
That's as soon as we could get Lee County to do it.
Really?
So, and then there's another one, I think 3 or 4 months later, but I'd like everyone to start thinking about it. With a lot of empty lots, there's a temptation of people just to turn and dump their paint cans there. Please wait until February 4th. The other thing is on April 24th, we're taking some of the money donated kindly by Alex King to the Murph committee, and we're going to go out and try and get a bulk purchase of sapling trees. And that day in April is Arbor Day, and We are going to try and encourage everyone to come up, pick up a tree, and replant it. We lost so many trees during the storm, and this is one way to bring the trees back, get the island back, put some green back, and let everyone, at least take part in it. I don't know more details, but that's what we're working on.
You got, was that the money that you talked about last week?
Yes.
You got a donation, and then you're able. How many? Oh, you don't know how many trees yet, because I know Chad was really giddy
Yeah.
about getting some money for trees.
Oh yeah. Well, we all are. I mean, if you came here after the storm, there were so many trees down. It was heartbreaking.
I can't believe nobody can remember the name of that tree. It's really going to bug me to the end of the show. It's like, what's that? That's the tree I was talking about, the Gumbo Limbo tree.
Okay.
That's the Fort Myers Beach tree, right? Isn't it, Jim? The Gumbo Limbo tree, Mr. Murph. I can't believe that didn't roll off your tongue. So, the other thing I want to talk about real quick before you close your file is I don't know if you've been on the beach. When you guys come down from wherever you're, Ohio, Wisconsin, you're going to see not only the beautiful big beach that you didn't see when you left last year because it's all finished, but the plantings. You're going to start to see the plantings all the way from Bowditch. I don't know how far down. I think I saw some of them down here already by Margaritaville. And that'll help protect the as much as it can from sand coming up past the beach from a storm or wind or stuff like that. And Chad is just, he's killing it. And I hope he's gotten a raise because he really deserves a raise. Boy, here now, these birds here are
Those are
crows.
starlings or crows.
Are they protected, or
grackles.
can I whip out my BB gun and take one out?
That I don't think is allowed.
All right.
They're not in the iguana status.
Somebody last weekend, somebody was sitting at this table and feeding the birds. And boy, the employees from Margaritaville came right over and said, please don't feed the birds because it just brings them back. I remember that from Pete's Time Out, they were like torpedoing down inside Pete's Time Out to steal the food.
When we had the hot dog boat down at the 6,000 block, and it was a pontoon boat that would sell hot dogs to the people. They'd go in and anchor and sell hot dogs. And the seagulls got so proficient at dive bombing the kids that just got a hot dog, they could go in and strip the hot dog out of the bun while the kid's going back to his parents, and he'd end up with nothing but just bread wrapped in foil, and there's the seagull flying away with a hot dog.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. I'm going to read some ads if you want to grab a refresher, and then we're going to have Jim come on. I know you're going to sit in and hopefully, right? You're going to sit in and
I'll sit in,
chat with Jim in a minute, but I got to take care of the ads here, and let's see if I can.
I'm going to give Jim the number 2 seat.
All right. Before we get to Jim Dunlap, we got a lot of stuff to talk about with Jim. I want to tell you about the Island Pancake House. If you haven't been to the Island Pancake House yet, they are in the Sea Great Plaza. They're one of 2 businesses that are open in the Sea Great Plaza. And if you don't know where the Sea Great Plaza is, all you need to do is drive about a mile down Estero Boulevard and look for the pizza bus that is blocking the Sea Great Plaza lot. And Island Pancake House is situated in the back corner there. They've been there, I don't know, since shortly after the storm, and they are open 7 days a week. They open at 7:30. And they're open until 2 o'clock. They have a full liquor license, which is a top priority for people that live here on the beach. So make sure that you go down and order pancakes and whiskey, because that's a fine mix for a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning. And they also are open for lunch. The Island Pancake House, make sure you say hi to Brian and Stacy. They're wonderful people, and we appreciate them sponsoring the show. And before we start our second half of the show, I did kind of tease out that after the show, I am going to post something at 12 o'clock that I think many of you that are watching the recall will be interested in reading. Both Dave and Ed are the only 2 people that have read what was sent to me, and then I'll just leave it at that. And then tomorrow we're going to ask the mayor about it. So that's coming up at 12 o'clock right after the show. So welcome Jim Dunlap to the show, everybody. Big hand for Jim.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you.
Jim, how are you?
I'm good, but I want to make sure and let Dave know that we are Lions fans, and there will be a day coming very soon, my friend, that we'll retaliate for that first game of the year. So appreciate you waking us up, but we're awake.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. I want to make sure you're loud enough. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We look forward to the day.
Oh, here we go.
Bring your alarm clock.
Well, I think all we need is a Cleveland kicker, but maybe you've got more in mind than that. But
At least you guys have teams that you are willing to talk about. I'm not
Yeah.
even willing to get into the conversation about our teams. So, Jim, first off, real quick, you're now the chair of. I know we can't talk much about it, but you are the chair of the Charter Review Commission. And what is that? What's the charge with that commission?
so there is a statute in Florida law that at least every 10 years, municipalities need to review their charter. And that is a mini translation for a constitution for a community. So it determines things like terms of when we have the elections, whether or not the mayor's elected or by the people or by the council, how ordinances are approved. It's a very significant operating manual, if you will, for the operation of the town. So it's important work. There's 5 members. We will finish in April of 2026 if we stay on schedule, which I promise we will. We'll turn our findings over, our recommendations over to council. They're required to have 2 public hearings to vet out and get more public feedback on some of the recommendations. And then they will officially recommend to have that put on the ballot in November of 2026 for adoption. So that's our charge. That's what we're doing. And we had an organizational meeting last Tuesday, and that'll fix it from there.
Yeah, I know you got an order there, so I'll let you fix that there. And so, if you don't know, they are broadcast the Recall Charter Commission. The Charter Commission is a public meeting, so you can watch it. It is pretty important stuff. You can change the salaries of the town council. You can make some significant changes. Of course, the council has to approve it, and then it has to go to a referendum. So, they're going through the same thing in Cape Coral. I mean, there was a whole hullabaloo in Cape Coral about the salaries are being raised, and now the Charter Commission is bringing the salaries being raised back to the city council. So it's an interesting thing to have to go through, because you want to keep that document fresh as times change on the island or wherever.
And it matters. The last group that met, one of the changes was they went from 3-year election cycles to 4-year, which was a cost savings for the town. And as many of the elected officials have said, it takes a year, 18 months to get your legs under how things operate. So that extra year, it gives you to be fully functional and be able to make the right decisions with the right experience.
So, Dave, jump in anytime, of course. The first thing I wanted to ask you about was how do you feel about how the island is recovering? Is growth fast enough, or do you think there's ways that it could be faster?
Well, it's never going to be fast enough. If you look at the economic fragility, which is what I believe the situation we're in, we'll talk more about that later. But it's also an evolution of the mind. It's an evolution of the culture. What hurricanes do, especially the kind that we went through together, is they advance the natural demolition and evolution of how communities grow and learn and evolve by 10 to 20 years. So a lot selling here, or a neighborhood being rebuilt, or a building being refreshed, or something in that regard, that happens under the normal things of growing and decaying and growing and decaying. This wiped it clean. So it causes an enormous amount of stress on both the infrastructure, the people, and as you've seen through the process right now, the decisions you have to make. It's not just recovery, it's also reform. And you have to get a mindset that you have to reform the environment that you were used to for so long, that there's nothing wrong with celebrating and honoring and documenting. But you have to embrace the future, and that requires a mindset. And so that's the part I think we're at right now. Some of the natural things have happened. It's cleaned up. It looks great. All the things that go with that. But the mindsets have not evolved yet. And we're struggling with that precipice right now of what was and what has to be, needs to be, or should be, depending on how we vet all that. And we're stuck in that a little bit vis-a-vis some of the animosity in the island right now.
Dave, did you have something? I saw you get.
I totally concur. A condo association is a microcosm of the town. We have our own board, we have our own rules, regulations, and we are going to the owners with 4 declaration changes this fall because we have to, because of the hurricane.
Case in
And
point.
so we're just a microcosm of the complexity of the town. And this is something that has to be addressed not only in our association, but in the town itself.
Gotcha. Generally, Jim, do you think the LPA generally is heading the island in the right direction with what they recommend to the town council?
I think generally they are, and let me give you some context for that. The reason I feel good about that, and I think each member contributes to their own points of view and perspective, is we are having the hard conversations. They were incredibly uncomfortable, I'm sure, as they first started to happen, because these kind of things aren't what we used to talk about. When the town was completely built out, you deal with variances and changes and remodelings and all that. This is rebuilding a community. So you had to grow a whole new set of legs and arms to be able to stand in those moments and have conversations. I've watched them evolve. I'm trying to bring my point of view and perspective to the conversations. I'm not going to quit doing that. And I've listened carefully for the legacy individuals here that represent in many ways the founding fathers that are still around us and walk amongst us about why things are the way they are. But you have to marry both those conversations to have a productive outcome. We are, in my mind, the due process for somebody wanting to do something on our island that the council gets to witness and watch. They're in some ways the jury watching the interaction between the witnesses and the council, so that they get to hear the tough conversations and the reactions from the applicants. I think it's an incredibly valuable process. I think we're growing, we're learning, we're getting better at it, and it's never going to get easier because we're not going to agree on all things all times, but it's going to get better because everybody gets to feel that they voice their concerns and they're listened to.
So you did vote for Seagate.
Uh-huh.
Do you still feel that was the right vote after what you're seeing going on?
I do.
Why?
Well, I have a perspective around the economics on the island. And there's a basic policy I believe in that if you don't have economic freedom, you don't have personal freedom. If you don't have the ability to operate in a reassuring and confident way that the things you need, the basic things, the infrastructure, the cultural amenities that we all enjoy, the investments that need to be made that humans want to make their lives and environments better. If you can't afford to do that, you're something less than you're capable of being. And we are fragile right now. And you may or may not like that particular development itself, but there is significant economic recirculation that comes with those kind of investments that are decades. So let me say one other thing on it before I leave. We have really learned a lot about structural resiliency. We all know now about how things have to be built and what you have to do to reinforce and all the things that go with that. We do not talk enough about economic resiliency in this community. And it is equally as important and fragile if you don't do it right. Things need to be built economically to sustain the kind of storms we had, the normal economic downs and downturns. They create jobs. They look at it this way. They are the places that we go to for safe harbor and reassurance that it's going to be okay. And when you don't take economic resiliency into consideration, and it concerns me when I hear some of our officials talk about, I don't care if these people make money or not. That is, in my mind, completely wrong. It's just flat out wrong. And let's look at the history here a bit. If you look at Publix and just think how incredibly important that one location and entity was to the early stability of our island recovering. And then you look back and look at the conversations that we had with Publix when they were looking to build what they wanted to build. And all the consternation around, it's too big, you're not going to do that, we don't need that much here, et cetera, et cetera. If they would have tipped the economic model so that Publix said, yeah, it's not going to work for us, who'd be here doing this right now? We have to think through those lenses and at least have a conversation about them and make sure we step into the reality of, while it may not be the number one thing or the most ideal thing we wish it would have happened at the time it's happening, it's the opportunity we have right now to get those things started. And I think that needs to happen, Ed. It needs to happen more transparently. And I'm not afraid to talk about it. I will with anything that comes before us and with anybody that comes before us. It matters to me.
If it came before you again as is without any changes, would you vote yes again?
I would have to, because if it's exactly the same situation, and I believe in the reasons I did it when I did it or recommended to do it, And I still do today, even more so based on lack of development now in all the approved programs we have out there, projects we have. Where's the shovels in the ground? Capital costs are up, construction costs are up. There's all kinds of logistics issues. People trying to get the economic liquidity they can get to go get these things built. We need something to happen. We need the confidence, and we need to be open for business. It's okay to have visitors to your house. It's okay to say we're welcome to come and talk about it. So that's my background on it. It's my belief on it. And yes, that's what I would do.
What did you believe the public benefit was to the community?
Well, I've talked about a big part that doesn't get talked about enough, which was the economic recirculation here that comes from having something that substantial invested in. I also, and I mentioned this, so it's all on record, capital comes in many forms. I believe that the individuals who are involved with this will, in the end, do the right thing for the island, even if it involves doing some things differently as they go through construction, being Matt and some of the others we're talking to. I call it friendly capital because we can have conversations with the CEO. We can influence the conversations as they evolve. If you get external capital here that frankly doesn't care and they do everything by right or by litigation, you have an entirely different outcome when it gets created. I don't see that happening with these folks. So I felt that that was an important part of it. And to me, it was a big public benefit.
London Bay?
Yeah.
Are you 415 down there?
Yeah. That's coming up, guys. So we'll have to hold off until we get a chance to talk about that publicly.
Well, you said I wasn't going to ask that, but you said you were okay talking about things that come before you. So I thought I'd throw it out
Let
there.
me clarify the things that I did before. Happy to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's not on the next week's agenda. I thought it was going to be one of the ones on next week's agenda. It's the Kilwins. It's Meyer side's coming up for an alcohol permit. I know you can't talk about that, but I just want to let people know those. I was a little surprised, Dave. I was a little surprised that people were objecting to the Kilwins building, being that it was only 3 stories off the ground. It's like you can't build on the ground in Times Square. You have to build somewhat higher. And people still, you just never know with people down here. To me, sometimes you feel like nothing will make some people happy no matter what is built.
Well, that is just right. And I don't mean to interrupt Dave, but it triggered me there. So we got to talk about it.
I don't mean to trigger anybody.
Yeah, well, you did it. So here we go.
I triggered a lot of people last night.
It's, I know we'll get into the recall here in a second, and I'll be glad to talk as long about that as you want. But just an example of what you talked about is, and I don't even know this individual, Rebecca Link. I've never met her. I've never talked to her. I've never interacted with her. The only thing I ever saw was on your show. And yet, the simplest of initial activities, which was to drive around, take some pictures of buildings and other areas that aesthetically were pleasing, seemed human scale size, were in good locations and well taken care of. She posts a couple of those and gets attacked. And it's 5 stories or something. So you just have to be with the reality is you have to stand for things, stand into things, hang into the moment, do what you think is right. And the consequences are going to be what they are in the end anyway. I just think that there's a fomenting of emotion underneath the surface here that attacks anything that isn't like that individual believes it ought to be.
David, what were you going to say about that?
Going back to the building at Times Square.
Yeah.
And, I read the comments. There were people that said, why do we need residential down at Times Square? We want it to be commercial. Well, if you have to spend $3 million to build a 2-story or 3-story sandal shop, or someone that's selling, whatever they're selling, sunglasses.
Yeah.
You have to sell a hell of a lot of sunglasses and sandals
or ice cream
to cover your overhead and payback. And there's no ROI if you don't sell 10,000 sandals a month.
And I think it was one or two residences. It wasn't like a 50, not that anyone on Times Square would ever propose a 50-unit hotel, because that would just be crazy. But it was just like 1 or 2 rooms that they had. And there were residential apartments down there before the storm. There were right across from Margaritas, or at least 2 or 3 upstairs. So it's not it's zoned. I think it's properly zoned for that.
So
Well,
if-
Jim, you might know that
So if
without getting in trouble. You might know there is some zoning down there for residential or
It will
hotel,
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
that.
so if you can sell 2 units for 750,000 a piece, that's a condo unit,
Yeah.
and you
Get your money
create
back.
a 2-room. That's money
Right.
to defray your overhead cost, and now you don't have to sell 10,000 sandals a month. Now you can go down and sell 3,000
Yeah.
sandals
And
a
it
month.
didn't look obscene. And of course, it was designed by Albert, so that gets
There
in
you
my
go.
craw too.
There
That
you go.
anybody criticizes him.
I mean,
he knows the rules.
He
going
does.
going back to the Dairy Queen that was down there.
Yeah.
How many soft serves do you think Dairy Queen is going to have to sell if they rebuild and go up? I mean, I
Yes.
worked in the food service industry. That's a hell of a lot of soft serve cones that have to come out of Dairy Queen in order to cover the cost of the building.
Yeah, and here's the last thing on that. Thank you for putting in something. Somebody down there finally put something in Times Square to be
There you
built,
go.
and
There
we
you go.
want Times Square to be rebuilt.
Exactly.
And he's certainly putting his money where his mouth is and trying to rebuild there. Now, unfortunately, if it does get built, it might look like just a building stuck in the middle of nowhere because nobody else is doing anything down there right now anyway, other than Tom has got some plans. But anyway, so I got off track a little bit there. So I wanted to save the best for last, if you can say it's the best. But, you have some strong opinions on the recall. You big supporter of Karen. You came out to the show when she came on. And I actually thought you were going to run if there was a recall, but decided not to. But first of all, what do you think of the whole recall process against John and Karen?
It's wrong. It's unnecessary. It's unfair. And I think the allegations are blatantly false. And, there's something I keep in my wallet, Ed, about telling the truth. I've had it for a long time. And it says the true punishment of a liar is not that he and she can't be believed, but it's that he or she can't believe anyone else. And what's going on here right now are people that are trying to create false beliefs, in my mind, in the electorate. And let me walk through, from my perspective, on how I get to the place I'm getting about. Not only do I like those two people a lot, and I think they're doing a good job for us, but I want to talk about the differentiating between the process of a recall and the approach that's being taken. I've read the legislation on the recall process, and obviously it's got to be followed, which is what's going on. Have the right to do it. I get all that, et cetera. But let's just talk about the approach, because we know what's happening today on the island relative to the emotions, the divisiveness, the conversations, the misrepresentations. If you take two of the accusations, one for Karen, one for John, start with the Sunshine Law conversation, unbelievably, between evidently her and Jim about getting the pier built, which not only was successful, but years early, and we're not paying a dime for it, but leave that in the bucket it belongs in. If that rises to the case in the eyes of these individuals, petitioners, that it is a punishable effect, behavior under the Sunshine Law, which, by the way, is a serious, serious accusation. People are in jail for violating that. That's how far you can get on that if you really partake in it. We have a process to do that, to adjudicate it publicly. The Ethics Commission meets. I read the last couple of months of their findings. They go through information. They can take depositions. They have open debate. And when they find a finding, they publish it publicly, and they civil money fine the individuals that they're found guilty. So let's just take that path. If these individuals, who, by the way, a former mayor and a former council person who knows exactly how all this works, they know what they have access to, they go through that process. And it goes all the way through the commission, and the commission hears the evidence, which they represented they have, and they find a fault, that violation of Sunshine Law, and fine them $1,500 a piece, wherever it's to be, or Karen. Can you imagine the downdraft then for one of our elected officials violating the law, being found guilty? You wouldn't need a recall. There'd be an immediate resignation, or certainly there wouldn't be the divisiveness on the island to say, I wonder if it was true or not. That's a simple process to use, and it can even be expedited if you had this kind of emergency situation, but that wasn't chosen. Move over to John for a minute.
Wait, before you move over to John, I do want to, because I know that Bill Veach is trying to spike the football a little bit on the pier conversation about there was a vote by the town council about the pier for a permit for the pier. And that took place at the last town council meeting for a special exception for the pier. But part of, you can take this any way you want to take this. Part of the whole sunshine law is you have to have a reasonable belief that something is going to come before the council. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not speaking for John and Karen. In their mind, did they have a reasonable belief that something like the pier was going to come before the town council for a permit? I certainly never in a million years thought that the county would ever have to come in front of the town council for anything that had to do with the pier. Why they need a special it still doesn't make any sense to me. Why they need a special exception. I think maybe it had to do with the turtle thing, which wound up getting waived anyway. But that you have to have a reasonable expectation that something is going to come before the council, and then you can't speak about it. Now, obviously, Jim and Karen were at that meeting when they were talking about the pier. They were at that meeting, but you'd have to ask them if they had a reasonable expectation. And then you have to file a sunshine law violation with the state.
There's the point, my friend. And that, if it is as you described it, and they reasonably knew and did that, that should fly up through the process.
Yes.
The determination is made, and then we're not arguing about it anymore.
But and the other part of that,
and the facts are shown, by the way.
Right. And the other part of this is they have said, and they will continue to say, this is not a court of law. This is a court of public opinion. And they just needed to write the petition in a way to get it through the courts, which maybe they did. I think John might be saved by the judge. He might not be, but I don't think Karen will be saved by the judge. And then you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And just to prove a point, I got an email this morning. Rebecca and Ray Murphy were out knocking on doors with a petition that says vote for the recall. And it said nothing about anything but the comp plan. Everything that they were preaching to the person at the door was about the comp plan, which just goes to show it doesn't really matter right now. It's all about the comp plan and the buildings and the 17 stories. It was always about that.
Yeah,
but now you can say it and not have to worry about it, I guess.
And I agree they didn't have to add on the letter of the law on that. But the funny thing about freedom is it doesn't mean you get to do anything you want. But it does mean you get to do the right things every time. Was that the right thing for the island, to not take it through the official sanction process? These aren't common people. They're educated people with political experience that know what's available. It didn't have to create the fracture in the island it is, when it could have been public, above board, and gone through the exact process. No matter what it ended up coming out, it would have saved a lot.
You were going to say on to John.
So in my mind, another way that this could have been done is he's being alleged to have interfered with the employment of one of the town employees, and the petition represented that accordingly. But just imagine how clear, easy, and simple this would have been if they'd have just put the name of who got fired as a result of John King's efforts on that petition, because it's real easy to find out who's here and who's not. And they didn't do that because they're allowed to fire two people, which we both know and we all know, the manager and the attorney. So leaving that off, all they had to do was put a name on there, and the divisiveness wouldn't have happened because it's easy to check. The employee himself would have been irritated around having an illegitimate wrongful termination. So what I'd say, that is so freaking simple to show that that was not the intent in my mind. So I would ask the people that signed the petition, the 600 and some folks, before they go to the ballot box, go see one of these petitioners and just get the name, just for yourself, so you know that the truth is the truth that you're reacting to and your emotions are activated by. Just get the name. It's not a hard conversation to have.
Well, I don't know why you're not saying who the names are, but obviously John and Karen ran on trying to get John Herron, the county attorney, and Roger, who are the two people that they are allowed to fire, not individually. They still have to vote on it as a council. But I think the other name was Jason Green, that they were alleging that he was trying to get fired, who still to this day works for the town. So the third part of John's allegation says it was so vague enough where the judge kind of led their attorney, hey, get to number 3 because that's your best bet. on John's petition, because what the judge is thinking is the person that goes into the ballot box that votes for the recall sees that John worked to fire, somebody, blah, blah, blah. They don't know. It's confusing enough to the person in the that's making the call on the vote who the person is. And the judge said, I think the judge is going to say that should have been more specific because they are allowed to fire 2 people. I don't know. The judge at the end of the whole hearing said, by the way, I could still change my mind. So, which I thought was a great way to end things.
Well, I can tell you though, and there's the point. That's how simple it would have been. I think people ought to ask now often, and then we'll find out what that is. But I don't care if it's on John or Karen's. Which lie is less true than the others? If you do that for the reason to dismantle the operating structure of the duly elected people on the island right now, then you have to throw it all, in my mind, into what is this about other than what it says.
Yeah, and they both filed defamation lawsuits against Veach and Murphy yesterday, and I know some people laughed that off because there is a higher bar for defamation lawsuit when it's an elected official. I mean, there's a lot of leeway that people have, but when you accuse somebody of corruption, and that's what they're accusing those guys of accepting gifts from developers, that's accusing them of corruption. I mean, I think that I spoke to an attorney about that, and he said that's probably their best bet if they have any bet, because the bar is so high. But you are accusing somebody of a serious crime right there. Corruption is not a willy-nilly violation of the Sunshine Law. Dave, would you want to participate at all today?
All I want to say on that, Ed, is I know John and Karen personally. I cannot think of 2 more ethically driven people than Karen and John. Karen was an officer and her position was in charge of HR in a corporation. I don't know if you've ever dealt with an HR corporate person, but they have no gray area. It's black or it's white. There is no gray in HR at all. And Karen is that kind of person. And John grew up in Ohio, grew up, working in his dad's business. He's got a work ethic. He's got the same ethic I do. And I can't lie, cheat, or steal in my position. And I know John personally, and I don't think he can either. So I echo everything that Jim said. It's a bogus claim, and these people are doing an end to justify the means.
Yeah, I think the accepting gifts thing, I hope, and by the way, the town taxpayers are not paying for the defamation lawsuit. Just so you guys know, the taxpayers are only on the hook for the other part of the lawsuit, not this new defamation lawsuit. But the accepting gifts thing, man, that's within the it falls within the qualifications of a recall. But man, that's some serious accusation right there.
So let's talk a little bit about the consequences of something like this, Ed, because clearly I think we feel for the individuals who, as Dave said so well, are being falsely accused, and the reputational damage on that, the dense rust and atrophy over time, all the things that happen to human beings being accused of things that they couldn't imagine in their wildest dreams they would ever be associated in a conversation like that. It's very hard post-event, no matter how it comes out, to remove both the emotions involved with it, but the accusations with the name. It's just very difficult. But it's even deeper than that. It hurts the island. The conversations about us, our beautiful, small, tropical town that we care so much about and put so much effort and energy into, is having a sidebar conversation that isn't positive about us. The people that are the best and brightest, that live here, work here, or want to volunteer and become part of our community more, they look at this and go, and this is the reward and the outcome. If I step into that moment when I know I would never associate or endeavor anything like that, and it's an expensive transaction, not only with the money, Ed, but the share of mind. People, you know how you need to sleep and you need to have energy and you need to be able to daydream and think about things that re-energize you. This eats all that up when you're trying to still do the job as a mother or a father or a parent or a council person, whatever it happens to be. It eats you up and it makes you less effective, particularly because it's not true, but in any regard, because the conversations happen. That's wrong. And we have a great team here. We have an ad hoc elections, not by district, of course, which means the town residents elect a team. This is the team we want working together. This is trying to break up the team. And I would say a couple things. I've heard the mayor, and the vice mayor, and Scott, and everyone talk publicly and ongoingly around how they say just what Dave said. I know these people. I know what they stand for. I know what they believe in. Well, it's expensive. You talked about the town not paying for the defamation. They're also not paying for the campaign they got to run now to defend themselves, except for the attorneys. But the signs you see going up and the activities going on, they have to be paid for. So there's PACs that have been set up that allow contributions of any amount by anybody to go in. So I would challenge the team, the mayor, the vice mayor, Scott, Beach Talk Radio, all of the people that stand behind for and believe in what these individuals have done over the last 3 years, to write a check, put the liquidity in their hands so they can properly defend themselves against things they never thought they would be talking about at all.
Okay. I won't be writing a check, just so everybody knows. I'm trying to, as much as I run my mouth, I'm trying to stay quiet for the next few weeks. It doesn't matter if I stay quiet or not. People know I thought it was the lies thing was the thing. I appreciate the recall process. Like you have to have a way to recall elected officials in the right way. And I think the state legislature made it purposely hard, but not impossible, that when you get enough people riled up in a community, you can recall somebody for the right reasons. But it was the lies that it just drove me insane, because I mean, you're really killing two people's reputation at the end of the day if it goes through. So anyway, enough about that. What is your general thought on whether or not the majority of the people on the island, not yet the number of people that are going to vote, the majority of the people on the island, if every single one of the 3,400 or whatever the number is voted, how would that turn out vote-wise on the recall?
I think what you're doing today with me and others, what the effort you're going to see over the next few weeks by the targeted individuals here, and when I think people sit down and say, was I really misled to do something that I wouldn't have done if I'd have known the truth? I hope there's a reconciliation between the activity under the emotion of the moment and the standing behind the curtain and pulling that lever, and what you're doing to somebody's lives, our island, and what may never have been based on any truth whatsoever. I think those people are going to say, I'm wondering right now if I did the right thing. I'm glad we're having the conversation. It's an unfortunate way to have it, but I hope they will go back to the petitioners and ask the questions. I want to see the information that you haven't published, because ultimately my vote matters to me. I think that's going to be a positive outcome.
Dave?
I just, having been down here for 40 plus years, some part-time, some almost full-time, I would say this is the most divisive I have ever seen our island. And I just want to put our island back together. Mm-hmm. And I think that best, easiest way to do this is to vote no and then have an election. It's coming up in a year.
Exactly.
And then we can decide what. But let's not drive a wedge between everybody here, because that's not our island. That's not our home.
So we have a comment from Marcy, and I think this is what is going to rule the day on November 4th. Can they explain why they disregard the comp plan and the land development code? And that's the way everybody's voting on November 4th. They're not voting on the other accusations. I feel differently than you do. I think the people that are these people are motivated, and they're going to turn out, and this recall is going to win. If John's still on it, they're both going to get voted out. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just a prediction. I don't see people that are not, I don't think people are as motivated to go out, and maybe they are. Maybe the campaign will be so successful that they are, or they're mailing in their ballots or whatever. And hopefully everybody votes. I mean, that's the one thing I hope for, is that everybody votes. No matter which way it is, you should vote, and not just not vote. That'll be the way that we really find out what the majority of people feel.
Then have Bill and Ray on and have a conversation about the comp plan.
Well, that will never happen. But
Well, see, that's really unfortunate, isn't it?
no, I don't
These
think
keyboard warriors that sit behind the scenes and do these kind of things, while the rest of us that believe in something, whether we're going to be agreed with or not, the punishment for that is not being lied about. It's to be told the
Yeah.
truth about.
I think if you go back to our first interview with Bill, he made it clear that he wasn't going to talk about any evidence. And I think that if they had any evidence, they would have put it out there.
Yeah,
They say I don't know. Sometimes they say they do, and most of the time they say they don't need evidence, which is true. They don't need evidence because they wrote the petition the right way, I mean I don't know. That's just why would they have? They don't have to do anything right now. They're really on a roll.
Well, they will during the defamation lawsuit discovery
Well, yeah,
process.
whole
So
different
it'll
thing.
come out
Yeah.
one way or another.
Yeah. Jim, what else did you have that you want to make
So
sure we
let's
don't
change
miss?
the tone a little bit,
All
because
right.
I find in these situations that people get tired of this real quickly. And I'm optimistic like Dave is. And I think when they search their souls, they'll let these people serve their terms. They'll run a full election and candidates will appear to contest that in normal debates, which I'm sure you will have. And that's the way it ought to work. It always has. And that's both fair and appropriate. And it's a very short time frame. But every year on September 28th, for the last 3 years anyway, since the storm, I made a personal kind of a movie of the damage on the island, our property and all that we went through just because we needed something to do, take our mind off how horrible things were and what process it was going to be. So once a year, we watch that just to be reminded how incredibly far we have come from where we were. And by the way, these are two people on council that got us there, but sidebar on that. We had some friends over the first time because we don't show this to anybody. My wife and I watch it alone. And they were crying and watching to be reminded. But then you look out the window and go, here's where we are. We have done a marvelous, marvelous job with the circumstance we find ourselves in. I don't think we celebrate it enough. I don't think we're recognized enough for it. I don't think we collaborate around it enough because we skipped ahead and start to focus on the things we don't like again. And isn't that human nature? So I want to give you a document here today. It's an organization called Strong Towns. And they do, for communities like ours, national competitions of the strongest communities. And this is not just about financial wealth and all the things that go with that or big deals. It's about the way people work together, how they collaborate, the enthusiasm around the culture in the community. It is nominate the town. I'll give this document to you. You can take a look at it because you're very, very good at these things. We'd be happy to participate in an organized group across several functions in the community to help put some of this together. You put your nomination out. It's a national situation. 16 communities are chosen. They're all put into brackets, just like Sweet 16. And then
Cool.
they start competing with each other.
Really?
In the end, there's two. Those finalists have their day, if you will, to interact about their community, and the community advocates and fathers and representatives all the way from the bird people to shoot the iguana people. They all get to come and have a conversation around it. And then one is chosen. And you'll see when I give you this, the
Love it.
national recognition, the national pride, the national enthusiasm. It heals wounds, binds you back together. We got something good to do. And once we get past this ugliness for a moment, we'll forever remember doing
That's
this
cool.
together, and that'll come.
That's cool.
So I'm gonna give this to you if you'll
All
look
right.
at it
Yeah,
and
yeah. So
put something together.
Dude, I wanted to. You mentioned watching the film. I didn't know you did that, but that's kind
Nobody
of
does.
I made a promise that I wasn't going to post a single picture of the storm on September 28th for the 3rd anniversary. You know, some of the TV stations were going back and doing the anniversary thing, and the only picture I posted was the painting of the names of the people that died in the storm, and that was it. I didn't post any other picture. I didn't want to do it because I know people either they get PTSD or they don't want to hear about it anymore. And the other day when I was going through my phone looking for a picture of the Kilwin spot because I was gonna put the old spot with the new building so people can see, and it was just I was getting PTSD because I was seeing pictures of Times Square and then coming over the bridge and then the shrimp boats together and looking down Estero Boulevard at what looked like a Mad Max movie. And so, yeah, I mean, to look at it now, only 3 years later, it is quite an accomplishment.
We have an Island Winds owner's website, and after the storm, we have a 50-year-old coconut palm that was planted when they built the buildings. We're celebrating our 51st year now. And immediately after the storm, every frond was stripped away from the tree, and there was one lone spike coming out of the center. No other trees, no other fronds, but it was still alive. The landscape guy said, no, it's going to come back. And I kept taking pictures of our palm tree.
Oh, wow.
And today,
You got to send me all those pictures,
it's
Dave.
Gorgeous.
Because that would be great to put them all in a line to see how it grew.
It was just three.
That's kind of cool.
A microcosm of our island
Yeah,
right there.
That's part of the rebuilding process.
Yeah.
For everybody on the island.
So, Jim, last question, and then I'll let you go. Are you going to run for town council next year?
I have no idea yet, Ed. And a lot of that has to do with who you're running against.
Yeah.
I think we're in good hands. I hope we stay in good hands. But I think Karen said it pretty well last time she was on with you, or the time before that. We're not going to go backwards. So we'll see what it looks like at the time. But obviously, there's a lot of people that care. I'm going to remain in that group and do what I can do to help. And if that's one of the ways we ought to consider helping, then so be. We'll talk about it.
All right. Big hand for Jim and Dave, everybody. Thank you guys for coming on. That was a lot of fun and a lot of great information. Jim Dunlap and Dave Nusbaum. And I'm going to save my Alex King ad for tomorrow. I just want to remind everybody that we got 2 more donations while we were sitting here for the VFW. If you don't know what's going on with the VFW, just go to beachtalkradionews.com and you can see we have the mother of all raffles going on. And there's one more thing that is going to be added to the raffle that's not on there now, and that is an e-bike from our friends across the bridge. And we're going to be adding the e-bike when I get home after I go visit the baby. I don't know if my daughter's going to let me hold the baby. You know what she does now? She sends me a picture, but before it, she says, don't post it. Don't post it. Don't post it. What makes her think I would ever do that? So when the baby was born, I did post that the baby was born, and they told me to take it down. So maybe that's why. So check out the stuff that we're doing for the VFW, and hopefully by Monday we'll have a really big number. We're keeping track of how much we've raised every single day. At like 6 o'clock in the morning, we do an update. We count all the Venmos. It's mostly Venmo and checks in the mail. And then on October the 19th, we will be broadcasting our mayor show live from the VFW. And hopefully we can raise the entire $50,000 for them to pay all their bills. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Nice big audience online today. Remember to go out and vote, whichever way you're voting, on November 4th. And we'll see you tomorrow from Wahoo Willie's with Mayor Dan Allers. Bye-bye. Oh, thank you. Thank you.